I'm the Headless Historian, and why can't you see my face? I just got a haircut, and yesterday I realized that I have Justin Bieber hair. Today we're talking about Western Europe, and in my art history classes, and even in our history classes, as Americans, we mostly fixate on this portion of history, or these regions. And I mean, rightly so. A large portion of our culture as Americans, both South and North, comes from these countries we're going to talk about. At least the culture that's dictated by social order, like our government and how our languages are set up. A lot of our culture does come from Africa and Asia, and I just wanted to say that. So West Europe consists of Portugal, Spain, Italy, France, Germany, Finland, Austria, Sweden, Switzerland, Norway, Greece, and then the smaller countries, Andorra, Morocco, and Liechtenstein, the principalities, meaning they still have a royal family, Belgium, Denmark, Luxembourg, Malta, and kind of Iceland, but we're not going to talk about Iceland at all. All those countries make up Western Europe, and Western Europe is Western Europe mainly because we had that war, the World War, not the first one, the second one. After that, Berlin Wall split between communism and I can never remember that word. Just a second. It's the foundation of our whole economic system. How come I can remember communism? That's the question I probably should be asking myself. No. Capitalism, absolutely. So, split between capitalism and communism. Western Europe is mostly under the union of the European Union. The only countries that are not are Norway, Sweden, Switzerland, and Liechtenstein. So the EU, I've talked about this before when we talked about Africa, was established in 1950 with the prominent countries being Belgium. Belgium, if you know anything about Europe right now, is a very central part of Europe. They control a lot of the money. They're kind of the go-between France and Germany. Interesting country, and they make really great beer. France, Germany, Italy, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands were also a part of the European Union in 1950. So these 6 countries started the European Union. And then in 1973, Denmark and Ireland and the UK. We're not talking about the UK or Ireland during this video, but I just want to let you know they are a part of the EU. And then in the 80s, so 81, Greece joined, and 86, Portugal and Spain. So those countries, all in the EU right now. And because they're all united, like I said in the Africa video, they have issues. First, let's talk about why the EU started. After World War II, Europe was pretty much done with fighting like that. They've already had World War I, World War II. Before that, this area was a warring, just bunch of tribes and feudal kingdoms. There was Normans in France. In Italy and Spain, they have the Roman Church. They had the Habsburg family in Hungary, and then the Austrian Empire. Germany was full of just kings and princes, and they were always fighting. And then right before World War I, well, kind of the Victorian era, Victoria and Albert had many children. So they had a lot of kids, and these lot of kids were married off to European mainland royal families. And so basically everyone was related in all the royal families were kind of linked together in this way. And so because countries just started having this nationalistic pride and that build up, and there was hostility on not clarified borders, World War I broke out, and then World War II, right? And everybody knows about World War II. Germany is trying to take over Europe again. So World War II, they're like, we're fed up with this. We have to unite. We have to come together. And this is the first time that Europe, mainland Europe, Western Europe, had seen something like this, because before I told you, they had been just small pockets of feudal kingdoms. As I said before, a union creates problems, just like not having a union creates problems. I mean, we're humans. We're always going to have issues. It's sad. But the EU right now is dealing with a lot of economic trouble, such as Greece and Italy's issues, and because Greece and Italy are suffering, many other countries are suffering. And Germany is kind of the big brother in all of this right now. Europe also deals with the issue of immigration and the racism that comes with that. They have a lot of refugees coming from Asia, Middle East, and there's a large portion of them, and so you know how it is, just like in America when we have Mexicans cross the border, we're like, you're not supposed to be here, go back to your country. Racism ensues, and it's a dangerous thing because World War II, a lot of it was based on racism, and you're not supposed to be here, go back to your country or we'll murder you. Well, actually, they weren't allowed to go anywhere. Pretty much everyone hated the Jews during that time. Did you know that? On a side note, there were boats of Jewish people who came to America and were turned away. It was anti-Semitic cartoonism and propaganda was huge all over the world at that time. I'm going to tell you an anecdote. Yeah, I'll tell you an anecdote. The thing I love about Europe is they have so much history, and it's alive. They gave us classical and Roman art, Gothic cathedrals, the Renaissance, Baroque style, Impressionism, Modernism, and Dadaism. And you can just walk down the street and you can feel the history there. So their students learn in a different way than Americans do. Americans learn from a book and aren't able to experience it. I was recently, here's the anecdote. I was recently in a classroom teaching, and we were watching a video on the Holocaust, and it was devastating. People being murdered on screen, and it was the accounts of what happened were devastating to me. But most American students would, in my experience, not pay attention, because that's what happened in this class. They were just on their phones, they were talking. I was mad at the end. It was upsetting. But Europe, I've not been experienced with their classrooms, but they have a different style of, especially Western Europe, they have this different style of educating their students. They're very strict when it comes to rules and learning, but then they also give their students time to learn for themselves and experience things. And their families are very supportive of education. So that really helps in their future goals as a country or as a union. I personally have lived in Europe. I was in the western part of Germany, and then most recently in the eastern part of Germany, in Bavaria, hence me sporting my Bavarian suspenders. The best thing I found while living there is that every country has their own culture, and within that culture there's different pockets. Like Germany has states, and every state is so different it's very different from one another. Where I was in Bavaria, it's very rural and very almost like our South, our country land. But because of some of the reforms of borders, people are allowed to just cross over. I mean, all you need is a passport. There's no checks. And then you can just go to a country within a couple of hours and experience that country. That's why in Europe, a lot of people speak more than one language. In America, I know a lot of countries dog on America for not teaching any other language or not knowing any other language, but we are a giant country, and for me to get to another state, I have to drive at least 9 hours. And when I get to that state, they speak English. So why do I need to know another language? I mean, it's great to learn another language. I would love to learn another language. In fact, I'm trying to learn Hindi, but it's not a necessity like it is in Europe. So stop bullying us. That's all I have to say. What's in store for Europe? In their European Union, they have the euro. What are they going to do? Greece, they have a lot of riotings. Italy's kind of a mess. I don't know. Just like we don't know what's going to happen in America. Maybe there's this great movie, Audrey Hepburn, one of my favorites, called Roman Holiday. It's black and white. It's a beautiful movie. At the end, she gives this speech about how, and she mentions how Europe should be united together. And at that time, they were not. That's kind of like the early 50s. That's the Eastern Europe was still blocked out, and Western Europe, they were starting the EU. So that movie, Roman Holiday, was a foreshadowing of what was to come and what was happening at the time. So they are united. Western and Eastern Europe have countries in the EU, and maybe one day they will become a completely united, like, continent. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know. I do not know. I didn't this video now. I hope it was okay. It's kind of rambly. Ugh. But all my videos are kind of rambly, so. I'm sorry for my attire, but I really wanted to wear my overalls. I hope you liked them. If not, leave a comment saying I liked your overalls, because I like to be lied to when I don't look good. Next time we're going to be looking at our Latin neighbor to the south, so South America, Central America, and Mexico. All countries have issues with violence against women, and here's your chance to do something about it. I'm working on this project where we're trying to raise funds for the group She's Worth It. If you scan this QR code, it will send you right to the link and you can donate.